Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. It's Monday again. Believe it or not, it is Monday again. So we are ready for Motivational Monday. I am Portia Wheatley. I am the founder and the president of a nonprofit organization acknowledged as Trophy of Life Incorporated, where we have the great opportunity, the privilege, and the God assignment to render hope, encouragement, and inspiration to you, our audience, across the whole world. Let me bring in my co-host.
Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. My name is Takira Swan, and I am so happy to be here with you today. Before we bring on our guest for our Motivational Monday, I just want to remind all of you to go to our YouTube page. If you can like, share, subscribe, that will help us spread hope, encouragement, and inspiration to the entire world.
To the entire world. I always say it. I love saying it because we are his instruments to ensure that whatever message we bring to this platform, a Project 365, that is taken to the best of our ability, taken across the whole wide world. And we're grateful to God to be used to do that. Well, today we have a great guest with us on today, El Marie, and she is a powerhouse. And I'm telling you, some of the experiences that she's had in her life, you will most definitely walk away feeling empowered. She's a businesswoman. You will be empowered through that. She's a woman that has been through some ups and downs. You will be empowered through that. So much is attached to this woman, and she is going to share with us hope, encouragement, and you will definitely be inspired from what she brings to this platform on today. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to come. I can hardly wait to hear what you have to share. You have the platform.
Okay. Hello, Portia. Thank you so much for inviting me. I am honored. I appreciate the invite, and I do not take the assignment lightly by any means. So I will, I guess, jump right in. And if there's any questions, I can't see, like, if you have a chat box, any questions or anything, I am more than happy to answer and make it interactive if we can possibly do that. So again, I am El Marie, which my name is Lori Marie, but I'll go into how I became El Marie. I'll talk about that just a little bit. I am the author of Only God Can Send a Rainbow, Lessons in Love, found on Amazon. I am also, I guess I consider myself sometimes a corporate America dropout. I kind of like that term. I dropped out of corporate America and pursuing entrepreneurship, pursuing my vision, pursuing my dream career within my own entrepreneurship as the owner of a day spa, a full service day spa and event center, and an online e-commerce skincare, vitamin supplements, and CBD line. So that's my after corporate America, what I do now. And speaking, encouraging people. So where do I start? Do you want me to start with my journey? The topic today is pivoting the pivot. Yes. And on the onset, the heels of this ugly COVID, not just COVID. I know you said this is a worldwide platform, but I'm going to talk about what happened here in my world, in the world of many people of my peers that may be listening in the USA. Over the last year, not only did we have a major pandemic, but we also had to navigate a major political trauma. It was trauma. We had a political trauma. We're still getting through racial trauma. We had the COVID trauma. there's just so much trauma that has plagued us in the US as people in general. And so on top of those traumas, many of us, like myself, have had to overcome just my own personal trauma. So imagine you've got your own personal stuff going on, and then you look out and the country is traumatizing all the way down to COVID. And so last year, there was a lot of talk, pivot. Pivot was the buzzword, pivot. But the minute you pivot or find yourself pivoting, something else happens. So then you have to pivot the pivot. Then something else happens. Then you have to pivot the pivot of the pivot. So what do? Pivot is just turning. It's just rotating, turning. It's not spinning in circles and, trying to figure it out. It's actually strategically and constructively turning in a different direction to sustain what is going on at that moment. So it could be pivoting your finances, it could be pivoting your relationships, it could be pivoting your job, it could be even a pivot with your children. So I've had to actually do all of the above, plus some. And I'm going to start with, I told you I wrote a book. I wrote this book a few years ago, and you would never believe, well, maybe you would, looking at me, the trauma that I have dealt with, the personal, the relationship trauma, the rejection trauma, the self-esteem trauma, the being bullied as a child trauma. Yeah, I was bullied. Then when I finally got the nerve to fight my bullies back and literally fight them back, a little violence, but we won't talk about that, I would be the one to get in trouble. It's like, but I was fighting back. So the troublemaker, the girl sent to Catholic school, how did they say it? The stone that was rejected so many times, relationship loss. If anyone's read in the Bible, the book of Tamar, I have a chapter in my book that just pretty much is a parallel to my life and the Tamar story. That right there alone. So my breaking point was in 2011, I believe, 2010, 11. I pretty much had a nervous breakdown. My mind went. I went into a depression that was so unfound and so unbelievable that I didn't think I would come out of it. I literally went to the edge of the ledge and was about to jump. And when I say about to jump, I mean, I had a 3-story colonial home. It was very high, 9-foot ceilings. I went to the top. But God said, no, you're not jumping today. So I said, okay, God, I won't jump. I'll just take a bunch of pills. Then I looked at them. I took a few, got sick to my stomach. And God said, no, you're not doing that either. So I ended up flushing them down the toilet. So I don't know what the fish were on once I flushed those down the toilet. But I mean, my world had crashed so hard that I stayed in this depression for almost 6 months. And when I say I stayed in it, my children were in elementary and middle school. The best I could do 7 days a week was order a pizza. That was the best I could do. Get out of the bed. Oh, that wasn't happening. Hygiene, that wasn't happening. And I had a pivotal moment when I did finally break through. And again, after taking, I was on antidepressants, anti-anxiety, taking different medications. I went through like 7 therapists. One therapist tried to tell me I was, what did she tell me? I was, oh my God, manic. That's what she tried to tell me. I was like, well, I'm not blowing a bunch of money gambling, so I don't think I'm manic, but okay. So I got through that. And my journey, I was actually able to release through writing. So I want to share with your viewers, if you can journal, journaling is so important. Remember, as kids, we may have kept a diary. You never know how beneficial it is to actually journal. If you can't talk to someone about your thoughts and what you're going through, simply write them down. Get yourself, a book, a journal book similar to this that has pages that you could just write on, and then just write letters to yourself, write letters to God, even write letters to the people who may have hurt you. Dear person that hurt me, that abused me, that abandoned me. I dealt with abandonment. I still deal with abandonment, but now I know I've learned how to navigate it, and I've learned that it's not me. It's the person who abandoned it. That's their stuff. That's their issue as to why they can't hold the commitment that they made to me, all the way down to my grandfather, who would make me promises and never deliver on them. And then so all of that trauma carries with us. So what did I do when I came out of my fog? And this is part of the pivot. Now, don't go as extreme as I did. When I came out of my fog, Portia, I just joined a group. It was a hikers group, Black hikers. I'm like, okay, Black hikers, that sounds fun. And I joined this group. I've never even taken a path on a trail. So what I want your viewers to know is if you have faith, have no fear. My faith kept me from jumping off of the top of my home. My faith kept me from taking the whole bottle of the pills that could have done me in. And prior to that, I forgot to mention, I even one time was so low that I went to the beach and was just walking, said, I'm just going to keep walking into the ocean. I'm just going to keep walking and never come back. And I stopped that in my track. So three is a charm. God stopped me 3 times. And with that being said, when I finally woke up out of this fog, I just go on a hike. I climbed a mountain. Someone I never took a hike. I hate outside. I don't like bugs. I don't like outside. When we got briefed, they told us about the bears, like literally. I climbed Old Rag Mountain. So they told us about bears being in the woods. I'm like, real bears? So yeah, real bears. And when I looked at the sheet, it said 3.5 miles. So I'm like, okay, I can do 3.5 miles, but you know what? It's 3.5 miles up the mountain and then 3.5 miles down the mountain. So know your math. I'm not a math scholar. So I thought, okay, I can do 3.5 miles. So I have in the background, this is me on top of that mountain. Woohoo! I climbed Old Rag Mountain, never have even taken a hike. I was the only one with baggage. Okay, let's talk about baggage a little bit. I had a backpack, and in my backpack, I had a change of clothes. I had some fresh clothes. I had some snacks. I had a few water bottles. I was cute on the mountain. But guess what I had to do in order to climb that mountain and get up and over that mountain? I had to unload some of the stuff that was in that bag in order to successfully reach the top of that mountain. So your baggage could be relationship baggage, childhood trauma baggage, abandonment baggage, disappointment baggage, loss baggage. As I was taking those things out of my bag to get to the top of the mountain, I had to really psychologically think, oh my God, you did not need to take all this stuff with you to climb a mountain. And that's what I want your viewers to know. It is okay. You are allowed to release and unpack stuff. And then on top of that, when I got to a point where there was a gap in the boulders and everyone was jumping over it, I cried. I had a panic and an anxiety attack. I literally cried. Some stranger, unbeknownst to me, this man laid across the boulders and said, just walk across my back. I'm like, I can't, what? A total stranger allowed me to walk across his back to get to the other side, to continue my climb to that mountain. And I want to share that with your viewers, because that was pivotal for me. I had to pivot the pivot. That was a pivotal moment, because I had to understand that everybody in my life and everybody in your life may not understand your journey, and it's okay. And sometimes it takes a total stranger of maybe a whole different ethnicity, a whole different religious and background and belief system, to hold your hand and guide you and walk you through your pivot, walk you to that journey. So then fast forward, and you've heard me speak about loss of jobs. I've lost a few jobs where they laid me off and gave me severance package. So that was fine. I mean, I've gotten double-digit severance packages, but sometimes it was the feeling of rejection. Even though I received money, it was the feeling of rejection. I had a mortgage company that in 2000, when the real estate market crashed in 2000, 2008, that was a big loss for me. But every loss taught me a valuable lesson. So what we have to do is we have to look at the loss. Now, I will honestly say 6 months of me being in a depressive state, that was kind of a long time, but I learned it was a long time. Don't ever let anybody tell you what's too long to grieve, what's too long to be depressed, what's too long to get yourself together. The only time clock in life is death. That is the only time clock. So if you're living, you're breathing, and you are moderately and you're healthy, your time clock can continue to tick. You can get through. You can pivot. And when I say pivot, the first thing I had to pivot on that mountain was I had to learn how to let go of stuff in that bag. Baggage pivoting. That was pivot number 1. Pivot number 2, I had to learn how to trust someone. my trust levels are like this because of what people have done to me, people that have said they love me or that I thought loved me. So my trust levels. But when I couldn't cross over that gap in the boulder, when I felt as though if I jumped over, I was going to fall, and that stranger laid down and let me walk across his back, that allowed me to learn to trust. It took me, I'm like, oh my God, I can't. But I had to get across there. And then when my math was off, I thought it was 3.5 miles, but it was over 7 miles. My math was off. What was I going to do? Was I going to stay on top of that mountain and just be left there? Because to be honest with you, my group left me. I was indeed the weakest link that day. I had to get over and down. You couldn't really turn around and go back. You really had to follow the path. So follow the path and keep it moving. When obstacles come in your way, just look around you, see what resources you can use when obstacles come in your way, and try to navigate those resources. And then another thing I want to say is faith. When you're in a pivot moment, you have to make quick, swift decisions. Again, even if it's something going on with your child, would anybody even know? Another pivotal moment for me, my son, who is now 27, although I'm 29, he was shot in 2014, riddled with 6 bullets. By the grace of God, he's alive. And then we went through some more trauma with him. But what do you do as a mother when your son is laying in a hospital bed with 6 bullets? What do you do as a mother when you're trying to deal with your son, but you're kind of neglecting, like you put your daughter on autopilot because you have to deal with your son? There's so much that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, plus still continue to work. And I was a single mom. I was a single mother. So you work, you take care of your kids, you run your household. It's okay to slow down. It's also okay to ask for help, but you want to ask for the right help. You want to seek wise counsel. Be careful with who you go to for help, because not everybody is your everybody, if that makes sense. And then most of all, when you do pivot your pivot, take a lesson from it, learn from it. Don't, every situation that I faced, whether it was big or small, that became a challenge for me, I learned from it. I took a new exercise away with it. When my mortgage business failed, not failed, let me use a different word. When the mortgage industry imploded and crashed, let me be very careful with my words. I had to take a valuable lesson and go back into the workforce. And what I learned was how to, I guess, let's just say, negotiate my value. So you learn how to negotiate your value for your income if you're job seeking. Learn how to negotiate your value in relationships if that's something that you struggle with. I still struggle myself in that area. But I know what I'm going to tolerate, what I'm not going to tolerate. You learn to value yourself and your pivot. When you don't be afraid to pivot the same pivot multiple times, if that makes sense. Don't get caught up in people say, well, you just did such and such. You just did this. You just did that. You got to do what you got to do. And especially in the times that we're in, the challenging times that we're in, do what you have to do, what is best for you. And if you feel as though you are losing hope, I want to tell you, for me, it was the grace of God. And again, I want to point to this mountain. I want to point to this. That is me standing on top of Old Rag Mountain. Yet by the grace of God, I want to tell your viewers to don't be afraid to seek professional counseling and professional help. Because there is hope on the other side of the pivot. There really is hope on the other side. Now I'm happy with myself, my businesses. I opened right in the midst of COVID. I opened my brick and mortar 40 days before COVID shut me down for 4 months. And February, the end of January, I will be having a 2-year anniversary. And thank you. And all I did was maintain faith. Does the bank account look the way I would like for it to look? No, but God, I just maintain faith. So maintain your faith and don't fear pivoting a pivot. And if you have to pivot again, pivot again. Learn from each one, write down what was successful, what was, needs improvement. I'm not going to say unsuccessful, but what needs improvement. And then go to the next pivot, and then the next pivot, and keep on moving until you find your comfort level, until you find your place. And again, you may not find your place for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. There's no expiration time on your time except death. That is the only expiration day you have. There's no other. Colonel Sanders, I believe, started Kentucky Fried Chicken at like 65, 75 years old, and we still going getting fried chicken. So there's no expiration date. That's really all I have to say. If there's any questions, I'd like to take questions or comments at this time.
Now with the comments, they probably, I'm sure we're going to check that in the Facebook comment section, but just to give some feedback, when you talked about faith, and I know that was faith that got you through each situation, it got you through. And that's what we need to get to the pivot, and then to pivot from the pivot. It takes faith. It really does. And that's even, of course, it's faith in God, but it's also faith
Mhm.
in yourself. You have to,
Amen.
be confident in who God has made you to be. And also, in addition to that, what you talked about, learn from each experience. We definitely have to learn from each experience. And if we do not, we're just going to repeat that same cycle all over again. And
Vicious
we don't want to
cycle.
do that. We don't have time to do that. The question for you, though, what's in your low place, in your coming out of the low place, for your mental status? What were some of the things that you did to come up out of?
Well, that's a really good question. So again, I was in that mental status for nearly 6 months. I had a elementary age daughter, that really didn't have her mother there, because I was physically there, but I was mentally checked out. And I think what helped me to really come out was writing that book. I used a lot of scripture when I wrote that book. That book is laden with scripture. I even had the Strong's, what is it, the Bible study book. And I think seeing myself in, as I said, Tamar, the chapter Tamar has left the building, seeing myself in some of these experiences helped me to navigate my way out. And I came out kind of with a bang. Like I said, when I first came out of being in this cocoon, being in my house, not wanting to even the furthest I would go from my bed was just to go to the bathroom, not to go take a shower or anything, but just to go use the bathroom. And then I get back in my bed, lights off, head under. So I found this group. That was one of my first things I did when I came out. When I came out of the fog, was took this hike, and it was so funny because my family didn't really know what was going on. Like my mother, my sister knew a little bit. I mean, I literally was in fetal position, crying and crying. That was another thing. I don't even know if I can cry anymore in my life because I shed so many buckets of tears at that time till the tear well was dry. But it was kind of funny because when I told my family, and my kids were still young, so I needed somebody to watch my kids, I'm going to climb a mountain. They're like, what is wrong with you? I said, yep, going to climb a mountain. Now, I ain't tell you the part where I didn't get out to bed for 2 days because I was sore. I couldn't move a muscle.
But it was worth it.
I'm sorry.
But it was worth it.
It was worth it. My legs hurt, my feet hurt. Oh, and don't wear cute Timberlands to climb a mountain. Get some real hiking and get some real hiking socks. I learned that too. I will never climb a mountain again with cute Timberlands and regular socks and a backpack full of stuff. Learn the lesson.
Learn the lesson. But it's amazing, as low as you got, look at you now. What the enemy meant for bad, what the enemy meant to destroy you, what the enemy meant for your demise. Your faith in God and your faith in yourself, your self-confidence helped to bring you out. So audience, just know that no matter how low or hard times get, you can come up out of. I love to say that, come up and out of. Come up and out of, because the enemy wants you to continue to go deep, go deeper. But God says no. He turns that thing around for our good and his glory. But it's amazing how God just makes things happen so that he can get the credit, so that he can get the glory, and we can be a testimony to so many other people, because the times that we live in now, we definitely have to be transparent. So you didn't have to share what you experienced in your life, but just that sharing on this particular platform, just sharing that will be such hope and encouragement, and other individuals inspired to do some of the things that you did to get up and out of where they are. So thanks again. It's just amazing. Kira, it is amazing how you think that, how you can see how God works in every situation of our lives.
Yes, definitely, definitely. I really like how you said, you know, being transparent, and like how you did not have to share your testimony in your journey today. But I think that's so important now, like you said, because we don't know what people are really going through. And even if we know, you know, you ever been going through something and you tell like your family or friends, you kind of downplay, you know, what's really going on. So even if you do know what's going on in someone's life, they might have downplayed it a little bit and made it not as bad because they didn't want judgment from whoever they're talking to. But you being so transparent today, I feel like it's really going to help someone, because a lot of people are and have been in a really down place, and they just don't know who to turn to or what to do, or, you know, or they want to help someone, but they're like, I don't want to share my story because I don't want to be judged. So I am so happy that you did that, because we've all been in down places. And I think if more of us just start, you know, expressing ourselves and what we've been through, it'll be so much better. And one thing that you said that well, you said a lot of things I like today, but one thing that you said that I really liked was how, you know, when you realized how far you had gone up the mountain, you couldn't go, you know, you couldn't start turning back. You're like, okay, I gotta keep going, gotta keep the path, keep the course. And, you know, a lot of times that's what we have to do in life when we're going through something, or if you get yourself in a situation, turning back to go the other way could be far more detrimental than to stay the course that you're intended to take. So I just want to, you know, emphasize that analogy a little, because that is so important to do. And then when it was over, the gratification, the reward, the lessons that you learned were priceless, you know, and irreplaceable. So I just want to encourage our viewers today that even if something is hard, you know, just stay the course. Don't turn back to where you've come from. You've come so far, much farther than you realize, trust me. And the pivoting on the pivot, let me tell you, that is so serious, guys, because even if you get to the point where you're like out of your traumatic experiences, you're always going to have to shift or pivot in your life when it comes to situations. So like she said, take these pivoting moments as lessons to learn from, because one, I know you can help someone else with how you've had to pivot, but also when you get to other places and you get better and you get higher, you get more comfortable, you're going to have to pivot in some type of way. So once you learn that lesson, guys, I'm telling you, pivoting on the pivot, it'll be far less worrisome and traumatic when you get out of that space. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming today and sharing your journey and sharing your picture. It's beautiful.
Thank you. That's my mountain climb.
Yes.
And let me just say also, because you said as you get higher and higher your journey, once you do come out of a trauma, like I still struggle with things to this day, but my lessons have helped me to know how to navigate them. I still have anxiety. I still get down and depressed every now and then. So the higher and higher you go, always remain humble as well, not humiliated, but humble, and understand that it can happen again. So you're never out of the reach of the enemy. And the higher you go, the enemy is going to come back with some other little stuff. Remember when, and try it again. But always remember when that you got out of that one, and you will get out of the next one in the next one.
And that's what I was going to say right after you said that, because I'm like, you know what? If the enemy comes to you and says, remember when, you're like, yeah, remember when I went through that and I'm out of it. So you'll be fine. Trust me, you'll be fine. Especially when if you have a moment where you go back to that place, it's perfectly fine. We all do that. But remember, you got out of that place. Remember how you triumphed over that obstacle, which means you can do it again. So
do it.
Just stay encouraged.
Yes, yes. So
You know,
thank
I like
you.
that. Just do it. You know,
Just
just
do
do
it.
it. We can do it. And when you actually start, just put one foot before the other, or just write something down, or gather information to start pivoting on that pivot.
Mhm.
Man, accomplishments will come one after the other. So
Yes,
it
they
is
will.
wonderful. I
Thank
believe
you.
it. I would believe it. And don't forget, there is power in our words. So
Yes.
if you say you're going to do something, start to work towards it, and then watch those pieces come together, just like a puzzle. Those pieces will come together. So, anywho,
Thank you.
thank you again, El Marie. I love
Thank
you. God
you.
bless you. Matter of
Thank
fact,
you.
before we leave, give us the name of your business, and don't forget, also let me know, not just me, let the world know, um the what is it, I said I was coming in January, the comedy show.
Oh,
Yeah, come
okay.
on, put
Thank
it
you.
out
I
there,
forgot
put it out there.
comedy. Yes. So again, it is Body with a I, BODIOASIS, bodyoasis.com. And you can, if you're not local, our e-commerce, you could purchase our skincare, you could purchase our vitamins, supplements, and CBD. But because I have a day spa with an event center, I started this last year. I call it Curls, Cuts, and Comedy. It is wellness therapy. Laughter is the best medicine. So
Yeah.
if you are local in the DC area, I'm in Southern Maryland, and you can go to events dot Body with the I, BODIOASIS, events.bodyoasis.com, and get your ticket for Curls, Cuts, and Comedy. This is therapy session number 4. I'm like, I have promoted 4 comedy shows. I'm not even a promoter. But remember, I had to pivot. And so now I'm doing comedy at the day spa. So come, and you're coming out in January, I believe,
I sure
because I
am.
do a show every other month. So this is, Friday night, the 19th is this last show for this year is this coming Friday. So I'd love to see any of your local viewers come on out.
All right.
Thank
And
you.
again, absolutely. And again, I have posted those flyers on my page. So feel free to view my page and get that information that El Marie just shared. And we'll see you there. Takira, we
All
might have
right.
to hook up and do that run
Yeah.
together. Okay. Well, again, thank you so very much for joining us on today on this platform, Acknowledge as Project 365. Just know that we will always, for the remainder of this year, always bring you a message of hope, encouragement, and inspiration. God bless you, and we will see you tomorrow at what time, Takira?
1 p.m.
Yeah.
Eastern Standard Time.
All
And you
right.
know
God
what,
bless you.
ladies?
Yes.
I am so, your commitment to this 365, your commitment to do this every day is just awesome. Just give yourselves a hand. It is an awesome feat that you have taken on.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you so much. We know that what we do is to the glory and honor of God. That's our assignment, and we're glad to be his instruments. Thanks again, everyone. God bless, and we will see you tomorrow.